and second try. I was trying to film this a little earlier, and it was filming, but then when I look at my phone just now, there was nothing, and it didn't even save anything. Basically, it's twilight hours, I'm out in the fields, and what I wanted to do is record, it's actually an idea that I've had for a while. Throughout my life, I meet people that tell me different paranormal, supernatural stories, which I tend to forget, but which I think are really cool. And I thought it was about time that I start documenting them, because it's a really fun topic that I enjoy. Do I believe all of these stories? Not necessarily, but I'm going to record only those which people who told me really believe, which I deem to be more or less trustworthy. I mean, as trustworthy as you can be when it comes to topics like these supernatural things. Please tell me I'm filming. I'm going to freak out if this happens again, because I'm not dealing with this anymore. Oh man, come on. Stay. No, stay. Yes. Appropriately, I have purchased a joint. Like I said, I haven't smoked in 1 trillion years, so I have zero tolerance, and this will be fun. But I thought it was appropriate for the topic. So the first story that I was going to tell, that I have told already, but my phone decided not to record it, comes from my father, and it's about UFOs. Let me preface this, however, by saying that my father is somebody who likes to embellish things and exaggerate for the sake of a good story. There are people passing by. It's getting dark really fast as well. So like I was saying, my dad, when he was a kid, when he was about 7 or 8 years old, he was out playing next to our house, the same house. He grew up in the same house as I did. It's a 16-story Soviet building, apartment block, which was on the northernmost extremities of Kiev, basically in the forest. There was the last building, and then the forest starts right after that. Not anymore. The city has expanded since then, but back then it was the last building, and the forest would start right after that and would go on for hundreds of kilometers to the north towards Belarus, and in Belarus as well. And one day he was out playing, and he looked up in the sky. He looked up to the sky, and he saw a massive spaceship slowly gliding above his head, silently towards the forest, going down. And it wasn't like a simple flying saucer. It was an actual full-on Star Wars style spaceship where you could discern different parts and mechanisms of it. And he freaked out for obvious reasons, and he said that he glided towards the forest and landed somewhere in the forest. And the next day, he saw a note in the newspaper, in the local newspaper, that said that a lot of people have seen that UFO last night. And the newspaper was asking people to send them asking people for their experiences, asking them to send their stories to the newspaper. And this is what he did. He vividly remembers writing the story down and sending it by mail to the newspaper. Now, moreover, on top of that, his classmate, whose father was a colonel in the Soviet army, and this guy was stationed in the forest in a village called Vasilkiv, to the north of Kiev. And he said that that night he was urgently called in, had to leave everything, and went to the military base for a couple of days, allegedly figuring out this whole aliens business. And that was the story. Do I believe it completely? Not necessarily. I don't trust my phone anymore. Not necessarily, but I think there might be some truth to it. And the reason I'm saying this is because my father, first of all, has been an alcoholic most of his life. Second of all, he said that when he was my age, he told me this a couple of years ago, so like late teens, early 20s, he would smoke more joints per day than people would smoke cigarettes. So, and I don't need to explain what that does to your memory. And another thing that he told me was that when he was stationed in Chelyabinsk, he's an army guy, and he spent a lot of his years in the army during the USSR times, and then later during the independent Ukraine times. And before the USSR collapsed, he was stationed in a city called Chelyabinsk, and with that city, it's middle Russia, so to the south, somewhere in the middle. And what that city is famous for is a Russian Bermuda Triangle, which it's a place famous for many UFO sightings that happened there or used to happen there all the time, and people would flock to that place for UFO watching. It's a real thing. You can look it up on the internet. It exists. There's a Wikipedia article about that place, I believe. And he was stationed next to it, and he said that every night when he would be on guard duty, he would go up, look at the sky, and see UFOs. Flashing lights, flying across the night sky. Flying saucers, things like that. And when he told me this, I didn't have a feeling that he is joking. So I am inclined to believe what he is saying. Please tell me the camera is rolling. Yes, it is. It is getting dark though. Let me turn on the, no, it's cool like this, I think. I'll just start another video. I'll turn on the light. I'll turn on the flash camera. Flash. Okay, I turned on the flash. Now it's shining straight into my eyes. There. Oh no! Don't fall. Very comfortable. I hope I'm visible at least. I'm really paranoid. The reason I stopped the recording is because I'm really paranoid about it failing on me again. Because I don't want to be sitting here all evening and my phone will die and it will be a sad story. Anyway, I've told the first story. Let's light up the joint. So the second story, is it going? There was a low battery notification, but I hope it's still going. I hope it's still recording. Is it? Not even high yet, but I'm paranoid already about my phone. So the second story comes from my neighbor, actually. It's a girl. It's a Russian girl. And this one has nothing to do with the UFOs. It has to do with ghosts. Now, what she told me was, when she was little, her grandfather died. And he was not a very religious person. He lived his whole life in the USSR. And as most Soviet people, he was not religious. So he died unbaptized. He didn't go to church. And right after he died, strange things started happening around her house. And she's not the only one who was seeing that. All of the other people around her, in her family, attest to this story. She was completely dead serious when she was telling this story to me. People started hearing things around the house, rustling, footsteps at night when nobody was walking. And funny enough, most of these occurrences happened in the kitchen area of their house, right next to the fridge. Like, she said they would hear somebody standing next to the fridge, as if like trying to get something out of the fridge, like just walking in place, like you know, right next to the fridge, and they were right there, and there was nobody. Obviously, this freaked everybody out. And one day, sorry, there's a guy coming. Let me show you my drink. There's a jogger coming. I'll put my books for now. Man, jog faster, dude. I've already finished this one. Absolutely fantastic. Mind-blowing. I would tell you more, but there's a guy coming. He's got car lights on him. Anyway, now that he's gone, I can continue with my story. Sorry, I don't want people to like hear me sitting here at night talking about ghosts. Come on. So, hold on a second. So this is what happened. One day actually, all of her family left to arrange things for the funeral. And they left her at home completely alone, and she still doesn't understand why. It seems like a completely insane thing to me, you know, with a ghost, with a poltergeist in your house, but okay, whatever. They would be gone for a couple of hours only. So maybe they thought that it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And after they left, she was in her room alone, scared to death, afraid to go out. But finally she had to go. She had to leave her room because she had to go to the toilet. Fucking ducks are going crazy. Bro, they also want to hit. The ducks know what's good. Anyway, when she left her room to go to the bathroom, as soon as she left, she heard a door opening down the corridor between her room and the bathroom, and footsteps coming out of the room. Nobody. She sees nobody. There's nobody there. But the door is opening and there are footsteps. And she's slowly going to the bathroom, freaked out, like it's a horror movie type thing. And here's the worst part. In the living room, she hears somebody sit down on the couch and the TV turns on. Man, horror movie. Of course. I'm telling you. And as soon as that happened, she started freaking out, screaming, saying, "Grandpa, please stop." And apparently Grandpa heard her and stopped doing that stuff. But funny, I mean, it was just a dead guy trying to get a sandwich from the fridge, watch some TV, and people are freaking out all around him, man. She was dead serious when she told me this. It was like a heart-to-heart conversation. So, I don't know what to make of this. I do want to see if my camera is still rolling. Yes, it is still rolling. Yes. Yes. And now the final story is very similar to this one. It comes from another friend of mine from Lithuania. Now there isn't that much to tell actually. It all happened before, when she was very young, 3-4 years of age. She could speak already, but she doesn't remember anything from those years. So very, very small. And her parents told her this. Apparently when she was small, she used to have an imaginary friend who she would hang out with, talk with, show her things. And she named him. And here's the thing. The name she gave that imaginary friend was the name of her dead grandfather who died before she was born. She could never have met him. She couldn't have known his name. She was 3 or 4 years old. And yet her imaginary friend had the same name as her dead grandfather. Now, my parents wouldn't know that. They just, at first, they didn't realize. They just said that, and she would have an imaginary friend who she would hang out with, like, in her room, talk to, and so on. And then one night, when they were out on her grandma's property, so it's a rural area, so the toilet was outside. It was a hole in the ground outside. She had to go to the toilet in the middle of the night, and her father took her there. But when they were going out, my phone ran out of memory. Classic, absolute classic. Let me just record this last part, and I'm gonna go home. I promise. This is why I'm never doing this again. Stupid, camera problems. It's so unreliable. I need a new phone. So she was going out to the toilet with her dad, and she said, "Oh, aren't we taking so-and-so with us?" And she calls her imaginary friend by her dead grandfather's name. And her dad naturally freaks out because there's no way she could have met him or known him or seen him or known his name. And that's one thing. She doesn't remember any of this. Her parents told her later in life. But a couple of years ago, when she was back in Lithuania, she was staying alone in that home because she had to quarantine when she arrived. So she was quarantining in their village home alone. And she was on the call with her boyfriend. And suddenly, in that building, she started hearing footsteps above on the second floor, on the first floor, whatever. Or in the attic, I don't remember, above her. And there was nobody else in the house. Nobody could have been there. And she went upstairs to check. There was nobody. Now, the footsteps were so loud that her boyfriend heard them as well. And it couldn't have been coming from a neighbor's house or from anywhere else. It's an alone standing house on their private property, which is quite large actually. They have a lot of land, and there's nobody around. And that made her freak out. And she remembered that story about her imaginary friend who she called by her dead grandfather's name. So that's the last story. That's all I have for now. If I remember more, if I come across more, I'll document them as well. But that's it. I am going to go home. Now I'm going to enjoy the evening a bit more here. There's nobody, and it's actually quite pretty. So I'm going to chill a little bit and go home and have a great rest of the day. So have a good evening. I hope we don't look ugly. Bye-bye.